Let's
All
go.
righty. First of all, I want to welcome everyone. I want to welcome you and thank you most importantly for taking the time out of your busy day to join us. We know your time is valuable, and it's my and Joe's intent today, or goal today, is to not only make it worth your time, but to hopefully exceed your expectations. A little bit about today's webinar. In today's environment, competitive employment market, and with the nationwide shortage of technicians, it's important. It's more important now than ever to retain what we got, keep the ones we have. So in the next 90 minutes or so, we hope that we're going to, Joe and I plan on sharing with you some proven techniques that will help you in employee retention, but we also going to give you some tips on some employee management tips that you can go back and take and start implementing today. Joe and I have been coaches and training this particular process. Joe primarily as a lead presenter at the Eagles. We've been presenting this concept, these methods, for several years. And we know through coaching and through our teaching that these things work. They work, the things we're going to talk about today, they work in small markets, big markets. They work everywhere. It's not instant. There is no such thing as an instant fix, an instant solution to all this. What we have to do, these are things that have to be done in combination. That's how you're going to put all these things in place to be able to retain your help. We have set aside 10 or 15 minutes at the end of the presentation for question and answers. But if you have any questions that come up during this presentation, something in the middle of the presentation, you see something you want to ask about, Joe and I are both going to monitor the chat session.
Yeah.
So we'll try to get those answers as soon as possible. So with no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get going with the presentation. Okay, here's the presentation, the best kept secrets to keeping your employees. And like I said, these are proven methods we've used forever. A little bit about Elite for those of you that are online that are not our present clients. This is who we are. We're a company that lives by the principles of never putting money ahead of people. Plain and simple, very short and sweet, but very, very powerful. And we live by this. This is our mission statement. Our Elite's mission is to use our team of top executives, our top experts in America, to help automotive professionals reach their goals and live happier lives while elevating the industry that we all love so much. This mission will be accomplished without ever compromising our ethics or the trust that is placed in us. A little bit about myself. I'm executive council member with Elite, which Joe and I both are part of the council, but I'm also still a business development coach. I have a few clients I still work with. I collaborate with the new team, new coaches. I help train the new coaches. My and Joe's involvement with the coaching program is basically to do whatever we can to support the coaches. Joe's primary role is he's the one that helps develop the goal achievement plans and all the goal achievement plans with the clients and with the coaches. Those of you that are in the industry, you'll know Joe, I'm sure, from he was one of the original writers of Ratchet and Wrench and still is. Matter of fact, there's going to be a keynote speaker coming up in Dallas at the Ratchet and Wrench conference in September, I think, Joe, is that correct? Or October?
Yeah, yep, September.
September. Joe also is the lead presenter in the Fly with the Eagles course. I helped Joe and have helped him for several years, but that Fly with the Eagles course is Joe's deal. And some of the stuff that we're going to be touching on today are excerpts from that. We take a much deeper dive in the Eagles course, but some of this is excerpts from that. So it's really a pleasure, always a pleasure to be with my buddy Joe. And he has got a wealth of knowledge. And like I said, some of these things we're going to talk about are stuff that Joe has put together at the Eagles course. So it kind of all works hand in hand. Joe, you want to start off with the very first tip?
Yep, I will. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for those kind words too. I appreciate it. As Kevin was saying earlier, these are bits and pieces and some key points taken from the Eagles course that we do, and that we're going to present in October of this year. Yeah. And this particular topic is so key today because, as we know, the the buzzword is we need techs, we need employees, and it's everywhere, not just in our industry, but everywhere you go, you see those help wanted signs, careers, ask within, and it's so important now. But we have to understand that we probably have a team of employees that we want to keep. We don't want to lose anybody, and people are looking over the fence for greener pastures. They are. So we're going to give you some real life takeaway strategies today, 5 secrets that we know can help you right now. Obviously, we can't go in the same detail and depth that we do with the Eagle scores, but I guarantee you that Kevin and I are going to give you enough meat and potatoes to walk away with some good understanding of what you need to do. Number 1, understand the needs of the individual. My day back then, it was, back in the 70s, early to late 70s, it was my way or the highway. Right, Kevin? My way or the highway.
That's the way it was back then, for sure.
Yeah. And the boss set that tone. I remember one of the first days at a new job when I was 20, 21 years old, the boss pulls me aside after a coffee break and says, there are 3 ways of doing things: the wrong way, the right way, and my way. And if you do things my way, we're going to get along just fine around here. Well, it's not that way anymore. It really isn't. Today, we have to understand that the individual, the employee, they have goals, they have aspirations, they have a vision of their future too. We need to tap into that future. Whatever career path that we want to build, that's in line with the company goals, has to also be in line with the individual goals. All right. And by the way, I just want to just go back to the title here a second before I go on. The workplace is so important. It has to be a fun workplace. I don't mean joking around all day long and not working, but a place where people want to go to work, where it's not like, I got to get up and go to work today. So whatever we can do to make that workplace environment fun, healthy, it tells people, it sends them a message that we want them to stay. MBWA, managing by walking around. That was a term from a book back in the early 80s by Tom Peters, In Search of Excellence. And what that means is that take time out of your day, or out of the week, and go around to your employees, talk to them about things other than business. How was the weekend? What are you doing this weekend? Get to know them as a person, because then they'll get to know you as a person. It has to be that sort of connection, right? Build a team. Everything has to be supported and organized, and the culture has to be about the team concept. It can't be about one individual or about the company. And if you want to promote a healthy environment, it has to be promoting a team concept too. Celebrate wins. Legendary.
Joe, excuse me. Sure. I want to jump in a little bit there on the celebrate wins. Sure. I don't think that there's any one thing that's probably more important than this. And the reason I say is because a lot of us in this industry talk about the prima donnas, technicians being prima donnas. I hate that word, but we hear it all the time, right, Joe?
Yeah.
And quite frankly, the reason that they're prima donnas is because that's our fault as an industry. Because we didn't praise them and we didn't celebrate the wins with them, they had to pat themselves on the back. They had to give themselves credit.
It's true.
So we've kind of created that. I know, and I think that when we talk about celebrate wins, I'm not sure there's too many things too small to celebrate. I mean, seriously, I think that, again, when it goes back to Joe, we're talking about to develop the healthy and fun work environment. Look at the amount of time we spend at work with each other. And we know this job can be difficult and there's challenges every single day. And as Joe said, anything we can do to interject that fun. Well, I think part of that fun is celebrating the wins. Yeah. It could be stupid celebrations. Go out and give them, I've had clients that go out and, take balloons to a guy because he did, it's funny, but it gets the point across. So that to me is second important to the next line, which is probably the most important line.
Yeah. Yeah. And to Kevin's point, legendary CEO from General Electric, Jack Welch. And I'm gonna quote something he said years ago. Celebrating wins makes people feel like winners and creates an atmosphere of recognition and positive energy.
There you go.
So, you know, I mean, really celebrate and small wins,
Oh,
you know?
absolutely.
It doesn't have to be big wins, small wins,
Absolutely.
but it gives people recognition. It tells them that we're looking at their achievement. We're looking at their work. We want them to stay. Remember, that's the whole idea of today. We want them to give them, create an atmosphere that tells them, we want you to stay. We don't want to lose you. And set the right tone, leadership. This is so important. We spend a ton of time at the Eagles course discussing this, right, Kevin? Because leadership is so key. It really is so key.
The reason we spend so much time is because it is the key. It is the key.
Yeah, it really is.
You know, Joe and I talk about this in Eagles course quite often. If you come in the office and you're moping around and you got a bad day going, let me tell you something. You have set the tone.
Yeah.
Right? Not the right tone, but you set the tone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So leadership is the key. And going back to the celebrate wins thing, I just want to go back just one little bit on that. Is we talk about this all the time again in the Eagles course, but you got to make deposits in that emotional bank account. We know we're gonna have to take withdrawals. We know there's going to be mistakes. We know that we're going to have to correct people at times again. But by celebrating these wins, we're making deposits in that account. So then when we take withdrawals because we have to, we're not depleting the account. So
exactly,
it's very important.
Exactly.
And again, all this comes back to leadership. People want to work for strong leaders. They want to work for leaders that know what direction they're going, what their future looks like. So that way they know they have a future.
Yep, I agree 100%. And to Kevin's point too, your tone, the way you carry yourself, will set the tone of the day, of the week, and of the month. Absolutely. You know, and Kevin's right. If you want a miserable work atmosphere, it's easy. Just be miserable. You want an upbeat, positive atmosphere, then be upbeat and positive. But leadership is so key. It is so key to your overall success, but it also to help retain the employees that you have.
And Joe, we don't mean to be Pollyanna in our speech here. We don't think every day is perfect. We know every day in this industry is very, very difficult. But the strong leaders rise above it. Yeah. The strong leaders, they see an obstacle, they see a challenge. They let the team know, guess what? We got this. We got this. We'll get through it. So,
and one more point on leadership before we move on. Don't get sucked into the blame game. If something is not right around you, blame yourself first. Please blame yourself first. You blame yourself when things go wrong, and you give credit to the people around you and have them celebrate when things go right. That's the mark of a true leader. If something is wrong in your company or something is wrong around you, you look in the mirror first and say, that's the person that I need to look at first, and that's the only person that can help me. So that's being a leader. And when things go right, and you have a great week or a great month, and you give all the credit to the people around you. You give them the credit. You don't need the credit. You're the boss. You're the shop owner. You don't need the credit. Give them the credit. Show them how much you respect them, how much you care about them, and how much you recognize the great work that they do.
Before I go to the next slide, I just want to reemphasize that not any one of these things are a cure-all. All these things collectively put together are monumental.
Yes.
They're huge. They're huge.
I agree, 100%.
Okay, Joe, let me go to the next slide here, buddy.
Sure.
Number 2, you need the right compensation incentive plans. I'll take the first one here. The behavior gets the behavior reward. Plain and simple. If a guy comes in there and the tech exceeded his goals this week, for example, I'm using text for example, exceeded his goals this week or just knocked it out of the park, then you want to reward that behavior. And when we say reward behavior, we're not necessarily talking about monetary rewards. You know, that going out there and telling them what a great job they did, patting them on the back, thanking them, buying them lunch, something like that, just acknowledging the behavior. The behavior gets the behavior reward. So remember, when we say this, matter of fact, we're not talking about money. We're talking about probably everything but money. Joe, would you agree with that?
Yeah. As we're going to find out, money's not the only motivator. It's not sometimes not even the greatest motivator.
We're going to show more of that here a little bit later. There it is, Joe. Go ahead. Finish with your statement. Get right on time, buddy.
Perfect. Well, everyone needs a certain amount of money. Let's face it. We have to cover the basic needs of life. We got to be able to put food on our table, put gas in the car, pay the mortgage, pay the rent, take care of our families. That has to be an important factor, but it's not the only thing. Matter of fact, how many times have you heard he left my place, or he left that place of business to work with some for less money? So while money is always top of mind, it's not the only motivator. And it's not, and let me tell you something too, you can't throw enough money at people. If everything else isn't right or in the environment, money alone will not keep that. So although it's a very, very important, and it's a factor that you have to factor in, because I want you to pay your people a decent wage and an opportunity to earn more money, career pathing, things like that. But it's not the only motivator. Recognition, praise for performance, hitting milestones, celebrating birthdays, things like that.
Including them
in on the process of the team, making them feel like they have a stake in the business, that they hold a position that's very, very important to the success of the company. That's what's in. Those are the motivators of people. You'd be surprised. I spoke to a lot of people, both employees and management, and it always reverts back to, I don't know where the direction of this company is going. I don't know if my boss recognizes what I do. I don't know if there's an end game for me. Where will I be in 2-3 years? That's what people are thinking. They may not come out outwardly and tell you these things, but that's what they're thinking. So when you talk about a paid compensation plan, remember, money is important. Yes, it is. But once you satisfy the basic needs of life, give them an opportunity to earn more, then it has to be more inclusive with things that touch their heart, what we call intrinsic values.
And Joe, I want to jump on that just a second as well. My son is still involved in the business, and so I get a lot of information from him as well as our clients. And I got to tell you right now, what the younger people, the younger generation, so to speak, are looking for. They want time as much as they want more money. They want time off. Yeah. They like the 4-day work weeks, for example. I'm not advocating one or the other. I'm just simply saying that is part of your compensation plan. It should be you need to think of that as part of your compensation plan, because for the younger kids these days, that is what is important to them as money. Now, Joe and I talked about this, and we all know that once they start getting mortgages and car payments and all that stuff down the road, their motivation might change. Their
priorities change.
Yeah, they might change a bit. But really and truly, the generation we're seeing right now, time off is very, very important to them. Very important.
Yeah. And one more point on this. Yeah. I do want everyone, the shop owners on down, everyone should make a very, very, very good living. Absolutely. We really should. And this is not the time and place to talk about numbers and labor rates, but you've got to make sure that the shop owner is making money first, making a decent salary first, and then it trickles down to the rest of the people. But once you pass that, there's a lot more things going on aside from money that helps to keep people and retain people.
One more thing, again, we could go on like this forever.
I know.
We got to move on. But to go back to money not being the most, as you said, Joe, people leave all the time for less money. And the people that leave for more money, if someone says that they're quitting, they're going down the road for more money, the first question I would ask, what's really the problem? Yeah. Because there's more to it. Now, if someone's going to double their hourly rate or something like that, that's a different story. But we all know those are short-lived too. So we got to keep moving. I'm sorry, Joe and I could go on like this. And we've been known to do that. So we got to keep moving here. Compensation. Joe, go ahead, take this one.
Yeah, I mean, this should again. Let's refer back to what I said earlier. Once you cover the basic needs of life, then there should be some sort of an incentive to earn more, to earn a higher living, to do things that are a little bit above and beyond of what your normal expectations for your bills and expenses are. And if you look at every position, it keeps people engaged. It keeps people stretching their goals a little bit to earn more, to do more. So every compensation plan in every position should include some sort of performance-based element that stretches them a little bit, that keeps them engaged. This way they don't get stale. I mean, they say, okay, I can earn this today, but if I do this and this, I can earn more. And it doesn't, like Kevin said earlier, it doesn't always have to be in the form of monetary. It could be other things like flex time, tool reimbursements, a couple of days off during hunting season, whatever that is. There should be some sort of performance-based element that keeps that employee engaged and makes them incentivized to do a little bit more, to keep that up. And then obviously we're going to talk about a little later, if you're going to align the goals of the company with the goals of the individual, you got a powerful strategy there. We're going to talk about that in a little bit.
You bet.
Excellent. Good stuff.
And they need, did I go past? I went past the whole thing. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Excuse me. There we go.
You're good.
Okay,
yeah,
that's
okay.
it.
You're good.
So
You're good.
I'm sorry, I apologize. We're at step number 3. This to me is the most important thing, or one of the most important things in employee management. And that is employees need to know what's expected of them. And they need to be very, very clear and detailed expectations, in my opinion. I can give you a real quick example. I used to have multiple locations. I'd walk into a store and one day the oil had spilled all over the floor or whatever. And I told the GS, hey, get that cleaned up. I come in the next day and it's still a mess. And I said, hey, I asked you to get that cleaned up. He says, I'll get to it. I just haven't had time. I learned a valuable lesson there. Now on, get that cleaned up by 5 o'clock tonight. Guess what? It's cleaned up at 5 o'clock at night. So make sure the expectations are very clear. The broader they are, the more room there is to waver a bit. So make sure you got clear expectations. They should, I think all technicians specifically, I think advisors as well, they ought to have productivity goals with deadlines. This month, this is, your productivity goals. I think it's important that every employee knows very clearly what the company policies are, what the procedures are, and what the processes are. Again, what a lot of things that make give employees pause is they really don't know what to do. They don't know what's expected of them. They think they know, but usually what they do then, Joe, is they follow what Joe's doing. I do it. Well, Joe may not be setting a very good example, right? Joe may have been with you 30 years. He's not setting a very good example. So make sure they have clear expectations. Joe, you want to grab that next one?
Yeah, company policy, procedures, and processes. People need structure. Matter of fact, they welcome it. They ask for it. They want to know that there's some sort of a plan. That this is not just, we're going to go out there today and we're going to try to kill the dragon, but we don't know how we're going to do it. Policies, procedures, and processes eliminate the guesswork. Because like Kevin said, when people don't know what to do, what's expected of them, they start filling in the blanks, or they start following the person at the other end of the shop, and that may not be the right way to do things. So this company policies, procedures, and process is very, very important. And here's a tip too. Get your people involved in developing these companies' policies and procedures. Get them involved in that. Have them have input how to improve things. Again, we're talking about employee retention here. So getting them involved in this process of developing or changing or redeveloping these processes and policies tells a very important message. We care about what you think. Again, we don't want we don't want your employees looking over the fence for greener grass. We want them thinking twice. What am I getting here and I probably may not get down the road or across town? And that's what we're doing. So get them involved. Get them involved within. There's nothing better than everybody rowing in the same direction too, by the way. And this is what policies, procedures, and processes do.
Good point, Joe. Very good point. Yeah. Every employee needs to know how you're going to measure and monitor their performance. What do you have minimal levels of expected performance, and do you have another tier and another tier? How do you measure this? How are you going to monitor it? Are we going to give them a weekly update on what their productivity is, for example? And again, I'm talking about technicians primarily at this point, but how you measure and monitor their performance. They need to know this. Grab the next one, Joseph.
How you will coach them. You've got to be more than just a boss.
Yeah.
You got to be more than that. A boss just gives orders, tells people what to do, but they may not understand the reasons why you're giving them those orders or those directions. as a boss, as a shop owner, you need to be more of a coach. You need to find out what are the, again, like I said earlier, what are the goals, the aspirations, the vision of the people around you. You need to have one-on-ones with your people. Ask them what's important to them. Track their performance, track their development, track their training, find out what matters to them. And then you use this information based upon your feedback from them on how you create a career path for them that aligns with the company and aligns with what they want out of life. That's being a coach. Coaching and leadership goes hand in hand. It can't be your way or the highway. It cannot be.
And coaching is what we need to do today, not manage. I mean, really, we need to coach people. Yes, do you still need to manage them? Yes, but basically you need to coach them. You need to coach them to better performance.
Absolutely.
You need to coach them on better behavior if that's the case.
Yeah.
Much different than, as Joe said back in his day. I'm not as old as he is, so back in his day. No.
Okay.
Okay. As Joe said, back in the day.
Yeah.
That's not the way it was. There was no. I don't think coach was developed for anything other than athletics, because quite frankly, it was all about, as Joe said, you do it my way or the highway. If you don't like the way I'm doing it, get out. Get out.
Yeah.
Get out.
Well, yeah. And when the employee understands that their goals in life will be achieved by attaining the goals of the company, that's powerful. That's really powerful. And that can only happen through coaching. And yeah, so this is hand in hand with leadership. Very, very important. And I agree with Kevin. It's not about managing people, directing. They're not pieces on a chessboard. They're not. They're individuals. They're human beings that need to be helped in a way that they realize you're not just out for the company's best interest, but you're out for their best interest also.
And Joe, to coach properly, whether it be like us coaching clients, or whether it be like an employer or leader coaching their team, right? It has to be. We got to give them the tools and the programs and everything that we can give them to succeed. We got to give them all the tools they need. It's very easy to be critical of what they're doing, but have we provided everything they need to do what we're asking them to do?
Yeah.
You know, is everything set up properly in the shop? Or would they have all the proper tools they need? And the advisor, do they have all the sales training that they need? And we know that's the most important thing with advisors. They need training. Plain and simple. They
Absolutely.
have to be trained.
Yeah.
I think that advisor training might be as important, if not more important, than technician
these
training.
These days it is. You're dealing with a different type of consumer market out there. So the advisor training is key.
Another thing great coaches do, regardless of what kind of coach, they understand each individual. There's not a one size fit all. You may have one employee that needs hugs all the time. You may have another employee that needs your thumb on his back, pushing him all the time.
Yeah.
But the secret is to understand that employee and understand who he is and what he needs. Is he the type that needs to be hugged? Is he the type that needs to be kicked in the hind end? Yeah. That's the best coaches. There is no such thing as one size fits all. And that's what management tried to do many years ago. That's what everyone in our industry did many years ago. So there's no one size fits all. I try to know your people, know who they are, and coach around their personality, their behavior traits.
I agree 100%. That makes perfect sense. And I agree with that 100%. We no longer can, that's why, getting back to what I said earlier, when you develop a career path for an individual or you develop training, well, it used to be that, and I was guilty of this too. I knew, or I thought I knew exactly what my technicians needed or my service advisors needed. And I set the goals for them. I set the training. I did all that. Well, guess what? That may not be aligned with what they want out of life. You have to get into their lives, what's important to them, because the goals of Tom is different from the goals of Larry or from Mary, or they're just different. They're different. So we have to tap into what's important to them. Again, let me just remind you that two things. We're giving you bits and pieces of this, and I hope it makes sense to you, because and I hope that you take a lot of notes today too about these strategies. The other thing too is that we're here today to tell you You got to hold on to the people you have. We don't want because believe it or not, or if you don't realize it, there are shops down the road or across town that are recruiting your people. It may be right now too. So Absolutely. We don't want that to happen. If you have good people or great people or potential future superstars that work for you right now, you want to hold on to them. You want to give you a chance to give you the opportunity to develop all these superstars in front of you.
And Joseph, another thing that we've recognized by doing this through the years is that the clients or the leaders, the owners, they feel so much better when they grab their arms around this process, because they're not fighting things every day either.
Yeah,
it's just easier they're not putting out fires. It's just better for everyone. And the most important thing, bottom line of all this, it's the right way to treat people.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
the bottom line. It's the right way to do.
Yeah. But let me add to that, Kevin. That's a great point. Let me add to that. Years ago, I come from the gas station background, from the Bronx, 2-bay, 3-bay gas stations. And back then, the boss was right there. The boss was able to. He was the technician. He was the service advisor, the manager, the janitor. He was everything. But he was able to set the tone of the shop in a way that he knew the workflow. And his intelligence level, his level of expertise was good. It worked back then, but it doesn't work today. One of the things you're going to benefit from these secrets today is that when you develop the people around you, you can develop their talents, their skills, their knowledge. Because in today's world, shop owners, your level of intelligence or your skill level can only bring you so far. That's it. Can only bring you so far. You need the collective knowledge of the people around you to bring you to the next level. And that's what we're doing here. We're developing future leaders, your future managers, future service advisors, future national level technicians, whatever it is. That will help you get to where you want to get to also, because it's just too difficult today in this business world, both technically and for business management, to understand every single aspect of what it takes to run a business today.
And to your point, Joe, that's the definition of leadership: developing other leaders.
Other leaders.
Simple. You should be right now. Even if you're the owner, you should be developing or working on someone to take your place.
Yeah,
it may not happen, but that's that should be the ultimate goal.
Yeah, and we've all said before, you can't be we all heard this. You can't be the smartest guy in the room. You can't be. And if you think you are, you have a problem, because look, even Tom Brady, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time, he knows he needs great receivers. He needs great running backs. He knows he needs a qualified, highly level skilled team around him to win. So, these are all good strategies.
And like I said, collectively, you can move mountains with these strategies.
Yes.
Move mountains with them.
Collectively.
Secret number 4. And this is the thing that probably we harp on the most in the Eagles course, and that is, it all begins with hiring the right people. You can have the best shop in the entire world, the cleanest shop, the best of everything. You could have customers round the block, but if you got the wrong people, you're out of business in a big hurry.
Yeah,
a big hurry. So it's all about, it begins with hiring the right people, and we know today that is not as easy as it used to be. But I think if we were able to take a poll of this room, everyone in this room would say people is their most important asset to their business.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
But then the second question is, how much time do you spend recruiting, hiring, and developing people?
Yeah.
Right? It's the most important thing to our business. But as business owners, hey, we're all guilty. As business owners, we didn't dedicate enough time to that. And today it requires even more time. I told a couple of my clients as late as this morning that that's their job. Their number one priority, their number one job is hiring, recruiting people every day.
Yep.
Every day. Because nothing will work at all without the right people. And take it one more step, on the right seat in the right seat in the bus.
Yeah, I agree.
Nothing even better than that.
100%.
Joe, would you grab the next one, buddy?
Number 2, develop training programs based on their talents. Many shop owners think that once they hire somebody, right, Kevin, that their job ends.
So,
Nope, that's when your job actually begins, when you hire somebody. And to piggyback on what Kevin said earlier, it's training. It's recruiting, hiring, and then developing those people and make sure that they're in the right positions. Today, now more than ever, we don't have what we had back in the 70s, 80s, and part of the 90s. It's not just the big three, General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler to worry about, or Honda, Toyota, and Nissan to worry about. We have so much going on today, different levels. Matter of fact, again, I don't want to get into this today, but we also have to redefine what we consider is a true master level technician, because there's so many different aspects. You have electric vehicles, hybrids, so much electronics today, drivability issues. So there's so much going on today. Make sure that when you develop these training programs, ask the technicians, ask your people or your service advisors, what level, where do they need help with? Where do they want to go? What's their life look like? You want to base things on their talents. If they don't have a talent for something, then they're going to struggle with it. So when you develop training programs, which will be ongoing, it has to be also based on their strengths and their talents. People can improve upon their talents. They can't improve upon their weaknesses. So you're better off if you find somebody that's really, really good with drivability or hybrids or EVs or suspension and steering, then get them the training they need that helps to build what they can do best. Again, you're going to want to keep people in your shop.
It goes back to we talked about in coaching. You got to know that's why it's so important to know your people, know the individual. Like you said, you wouldn't want to send a GS to EV school right now, right? That wouldn't make sense. That's not a very appropriate training path.
That's right.
So yeah, to your point, it all goes back to connecting with your people, knowing who your people are.
Yeah.
Because if you know who your people are, and we're going to go to a little bit later here about aligning the goals of the company and stuff. If you know who your people are, then you know what you need to do to motivate them. If you don't know, again, it goes back to one size doesn't fit all, right?
Yeah.
One incentive plan doesn't work for everybody. So.
Yep, that's right. And there's a famous quote from the book Good to Great, Jim Collins. Yep. Get the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, and once you have the right people, put them in the right seats. I put them in the right seats. And now more than ever, this is an important aspect of what you should look at for the business models that are being developed right now in our industry.
Good point, man. Good point. This next number 3, build a career path for each employee with timelines. I'm going to give you another quick story. My son has 2 locations, and he struggles with the GS position. He used to tell me, Dad, it's a G. By the way, GS for some is a term that we use for general service. Some of you may use lube tech, whatever. But the entry level position he struggled with, and then he put on an apprenticeship program, and he was having difficulty getting that to take hold. Well, the reason for that, and we figured it out, by the way, he'd say, Dad, I don't know what, and I said, you know what? I think the problem is they don't have a career path. They don't know what's next. They think they're stuck in that lube bay. A great analogy of that is dealerships. If you want to get a lube tech, the easiest place to go get one is out of a dealership, because they put them down that pit, promise them they're going to move them forward with a career path, and they don't. So at any rate, we use that same philosophy, and my son put together a career path with timelines. So when a GS comes in, they know in 90 days they should be here, and they will be doing this type of work. And in 120 days, I'm making these numbers up. I don't have the thing in front of me, but at any rate, he's got timelines. Well, now that GS has a path, or the apprentice, they have a written documented pathway. So they're not sitting there wondering what's next.
Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah.
So develop a career path for each employee, and make sure they have timelines. Without timelines, they're useless.
Yeah. And can I just add to that, Kevin?
Please.
That's an important point. When you talk about a retention tool, here's what I was saying a little bit earlier. People don't know sometimes what's in it for me. What does it look like a year from now, 2 years from now? Because when you got to ask yourself, what can you do for this person that they can't get somewhere else?
Right.
And that's why people look over the fence. What can you do? Well, if they see now, I'm not saying we're going to keep everybody in our business for the next 40, 50 years. That's not what we're saying, but you want to keep them as long as possible, as long as possible. So a career path designed around company needs and individual needs works with timelines, because it tells the person, the individual, the employee that in 1 year, I'll be here. In 3 years, I'll be here. In 5 years, I'll be here. So if you give them this, they have a vested interest, a stake in the business. Matter of fact, they feel like they're part of the business. It's a great, great retention tool. It really is.
And Joe, I just was thinking about this. You're saying that we in the Eagles course that we do, we have the Gallup 12 that we talk about, and yep. one or two on that list of what's important to an employee is feel like they're being involved.
Yeah,
feel like they're being involved.
Yeah,
and another thing, by building a career path, it also holds you as the owner or the business owner accountable. Right. Because you promised. Now
it holds a shop owner accountable. Yeah. Kevin's referring to the Gallup poll that was done many, many years ago. We discussed at the Eagles course. We can't go in detail today, but it's 12 important management questions that you could ask your employees. We go into very, very detailed explanation of that at the Eagles course, but it's very, very important.
Yeah, just a little thing that I'll just go through one little thing on that. The Gallup poll, it compares what employers think is important and what the employee thinks is important.
Yeah,
and of course, employers thought money, number one, right? And I think I don't have the exact number here in front of me.
I think it's 5 or 6.
5 or 6.
5 or 6 is what the employee thinks. Yeah, I know.
So that's the kind of things that we need to learn. And again, this is what we're trying to help you with today. All these little things make a huge difference. In whether your employee stays with you or goes down the street.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, one more point about number 3. It reverts back to number 1. When you hire the right person, they don't want to stay. They don't want to stay here. They want to see that they're going to have some sort of a development path for their future. And ask them, what's important to you? Where do you want to be in 5 years?
Yeah.
Where do you want technicians, service providers, managers, whatever it is, bookkeeper, whatever position that is, you want to keep them. So the right people, and it starts with number 1, it begins with hiring the right people. But when you develop a pathway for them to develop in their own way, to make themselves better, because superstars and hiring the right people, they want to constantly improve. They don't want to stay stagnant. They really don't. They don't want a job, right? These hiring the right people, the superstars, they look for a career path, not a job path. That's why it's called career pathing, because they just don't want a job. They want a career.
Absolutely.
They want to be part of something.
And we talked about number 4 a little earlier, but recognize, encourage, and celebrate wins. Joe wrote a fantastic article many years ago in Ratchet and Wrench. I think he called it sniper management. Am I correct with that, Joe?
Yeah.
The philosophy behind the article was, as owners or managers, we're walking around the shop looking for them to do something wrong. Poof, gotcha, right?
Yeah.
And quite frankly, in today's world, we want to see just the opposite. We want to catch them doing all the things good, all the things right.
Yeah.
Catch them doing something right.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of these things, most of these things we're talking about, unless you've been a client of Elite's for some period of time, aren't being done anywhere else. So you're going to stand out. What Joe said earlier is, what makes me special? Why should I work for you instead of go down the street? These are the kind of things that are going to stand out because most people aren't doing them.
Well, let me piggyback on that. I asked my daughter-in-law just recently.
My back's getting heavy. You piggybacking on me, brother. I'm only.
That's what I do. I piggyback on all your quality.
We all know this, but go ahead with your statement. I'm sorry.
Well, she wasn't satisfied with her job, and I asked her. I says, "Well, what's is it money? Is it?" So, well, the money. You always look for more money, but that's not what it is. When I got hired here 2 years ago, by the way, she's a fashion designer in California. He says they made promises to me that they didn't keep. They told me that I would be here at a certain amount of time. And when I approached them about it, they says, well, we don't know what our direction is, so we can't tell you your direction. Well, consequently, she went looking over the fence, peeking over the fence to see what was out there. But the primary, to your point before, Kevin, the primary motivator was not money. It was not money. It was the fact that that she did not know her pathway, and that the company made promises to her they didn't keep. They didn't keep. So again, this goes back to leadership. If you better be very, very careful how you speak to your people and the promises you make to not just to your people, but to yourself too.
Absolutely.
And one of the things you have to do as a leader is to hold yourself accountable first, because if you don't hold yourself accountable, you can't hold others accountable too. So again, when you talk about recognition, encouragement, celebrating wins, that all ties back to understanding the particular needs of the individual.
But you know what, Joe? That's the thing that we just probably it needs to be on every single slide. It all goes back to that relationship you have with the individual, and quite frankly, the relationship we have with our employees, it pretty much mirrors the relationship we have with customers.
Yeah,
it really does,
yeah.
Right? And matter of fact, we always said in our business, we take care of our internal customers and we take care of our external customers, and everything else falls in line.
It does. It does. 100%.
Internal customers being your employees. You've got. And today, and I wasn't this smart, but I was practicing this many years ago, just by osmosis. I wasn't smart enough to understand that. Today, it's imperative that you practice these.
Yeah.
It's imperative that you are watching out for your internal customers.
Yep.
Equally as much as you are your external customers.
I agree 100%. 100%.
We done with that point there, bud?
Yep, we're done. Next.
Developing your superstars. Boy, Joe, we just had that. I'm sorry. Number 5.
Yep.
Building a team culture. This word seems to be a buzzword these days, and I think it's rightfully so, because I think that the culture of your company determines whether you have employee retention or you don't.
Oh,
right,
I agree. 100%.
And the first question I think every one of us need to ask, if you've not done this already, what is the culture of my company today? Today, what's the culture? More importantly, what do I want it to be? Again, it's like any other goal, right? We have to have something to shoot for. Well, what do you want the culture of your company to be? Number 1. And number 2, what is it today? When you have a benchmark, you have something to shoot for, right?
Yep.
So the first thing you got to do is figure out what is the culture, and by the way, when we're talking about culture, it encompasses, that is the business. That's the heart and soul of the business, in my opinion, is the culture, and that culture should be built around what, Joe? Core values and the mission statement, right?
Yep.
That helps your culture. Go ahead. No, please add to this.
Culture is important, whether you like it or not. If you don't set the right culture, the right tone, the culture will develop on its own, and it may not be what you expect or what you want from your company. Good point. You have to be sure that with the culture of your company is determined by, again, it goes back to leadership, the tone you set, the attitude that you walk around with, how you carry yourself. Are you a leader? No ego, by the way. Let go of the ego. You don't have to be right, by the way. You don't have to be right. You could listen to others. You can encourage the opinions and ideas and comments from other people around you. But if you don't develop that culture the way you want it, which has to be built on integrity, built on ethics, morals, teamwork, all right, has to be built around that. Trust me. If you don't do these things as a leader, a culture will develop in your company, but it may not be the one you want.
Great point. Great point.
Yeah.
And Joe, you said the thing about teamwork. I think that as a leader, that again, that is one of your primary objectives, is to build the team together. And we've all had those employees that didn't fit in. Nice people, may love them, may be great producers, but you know what? Just didn't want to be part of the team. How's that? Didn't want to be part of the team.
Yep.
Well, Joe and I talk about this all the time. That's a short-lived situation. So if you've got someone that doesn't want to be part of the team, always stands off the side and doesn't want to participate as part of the team, understand that eventually that will do damage to culture of your
Yeah.
business.
I
Right,
agree.
Joe?
Yep. 100%.
Number two, every team needs to have a mission statement and a statement of core values. Joseph, expand on that, will you please?
Critical. You need to have something that aligns your company with the people around you. Again, going back to culture, that's the glue that's the glue that bonds everything together. So is your mission statement and statement of core values. People want to know that around you, employed by you, what's important to you in the company.
Right.
It's not about business. It doesn't have to be about fortune or fame. It has to be what's important, those life issues. What is your purpose in life? How do you care about your fellow man, your employees? Those are the things that are going to bond everyone together. You should have, if you don't have one now, you should have a mission statement. It should be plastered everywhere. What do you believe in? Because when things go wrong or things are going sideways on you, you always revert back to what is the mission of this company, right? And what are my core values? If you can align those two, then really right from wrong, it becomes easy to distinguish what pathway you need to take, what decisions need to be taken, because you're reverting back to what is the true mission and purpose of this company, which is always aligned with the core values, things that come from the heart, come from inside you, things that we know that we know right from wrong. Very.
Joe, I'm gonna piggyback on you now. How's that?
Thank you.
On that
Thank
statement. I recommend my clients, they start off, if they don't have a mission statement already, I recommend they start off with a statement of the core values. I think that's in my opinion, of the two, I would rather have a statement of core values if I had to pick between two. I think they're both important. But if I had to pick between the two, I think the core values are most important. And there's something, by the way, that need to be shared, not just one time during orientation of a new employee. They need to be shared every week in your weekly meetings. Pick one of your core values and discuss them.
Yeah.
Because that, a prime example of that, Joe, is Ritz-Carlton. Ritz-Carlton have these morning huddles, morning meetings every day with each department. And the first thing they do is discuss one core value of the company. That's the very first thing they do. And the reason they do that is because they don't want the core values just be written sitting on a shelf. They want to be part of the company.
Who they are. Who they are.
Good point.
Yep.
Who they are.
Yep.
So
excellent.
Those of you that don't have a mission statement, I would first start with my core values. As Joe said, that's very simple because that comes really from the heart. What do I believe in? How do I want my customers to be treated? How do I, what are the ethics? What are my ethics? What are my standards? Those are core values. And what, Joe, would you say? 6 to 10 to 12, maybe
the
core
most,
values?
The most. Yeah.
One page, anything you can do on one page. How's that?
Yeah. And do it, write them down, set it aside, come back to it.
Good point.
Set it aside, come back to it. It may take you 3 or 4 or 5 times doing this, and write them down. We'll type them down, but I like writing the old-fashioned way because it's something that connects the brain with the words on that paper. Write it down, your core values, what you really believe in, what makes you human. What makes you human?
And one thing you cannot do as a leader and owner of a business, you cannot delegate this.
No.
This has to be from you.
Yeah.
This has to be from you.
Yeah.
This is not even something that maybe requires input from anyone else. The statement of core values, well, I mean, you could include people, but I think the one thing you can't do is delegate this. This has to come from the owner or the manager. And
it's going to revert back to your story of who you are. Everyone has a story to tell. So your core values and then eventually your mission statement will revert back to who you are, the story, the life experiences, what you've been through that help to develop who you are, create who you are. Because don't forget, shop owners, you're a special breed. You've seen a lot, you've done a lot. Whether you've been in business 2 years, 5 years, or 50 years, you go through a lot each and every day. But the life experiences that you went through help shape who you are. But reach deep down inside of what your perfect picture of who you are and what you really believe in. And then, because people will see that, and be genuine, by the way, because people will see through you. People will see through you if you're not genuine.
Can't fake it.
You can't fake this. You can't fake this. But again, again, let me revert back to what we're trying to do here. We're trying to give you strategies to help you retain people. When the people around you see you as a person, not just as a boss, as a person, that leadership thing tends to fall into place because they're going to follow you because they believe in you. You don't want them just blindly following you. You want them to believe in you. And when this all is brought together, you know, all these strategies brought together, it's really held together by your culture, your mission statement, and your core values.
Positively.
Yeah.
Positively.
Yeah.
And it, you know, those two items, Joe, that's your guiding light. That's your beacon.
Guiding light. Yep.
When things start getting sideways, you know what? Go back to your core values, your mission statement.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about always going back to the basics. Well, that's the most basic of all basics in a business.
Yeah.
The core values and the mission
That's
statement.
right. Yeah. When you're struggling in life, when you're struggling in business, when any organization struggle, they always say, get back to basics. And the basics of life are your core values and mission statement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Number 3, get your employees engaged, give them responsibility, and encourage ownership. All right. We can't stress this enough. Again, we talked about the Gallup 12 and being a part of it, being engaged was the top of the list. I'm not sure exactly what number, it was top of the list. So people, they want to be engaged. Give them the responsibility and encourage them ownership of their job, ownership of that responsibility. This is huge in that it brings them into the fold, so to speak. You know, very few businesses these days that we work with, or I don't think very few, but you know, most businesses we work with are smaller businesses. They're a shop of 8 or 10 people maybe, and so, you know, this is family, and we gotta treat them like family. Families fight, families argue, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
But the most important thing families do, when someone falls, when someone trips, when someone, you know, scrapes their knees, what do?
They help them back up. Help them back up. Yeah.
They don't sit and point fingers and say, well, he wasn't doing it right in the first place, no wonder he fell. That's not what we do. We pick them up and we move on. So I think that, quite frankly, I always, and I think Elite's very big on this, our company's family. We're family. And I think my clients that do the best with employee retention, they treat it the same way.
Yeah.
We're family. And as a family, we do what families do. Do we fight? Yeah. Do we bicker? Absolutely. But more importantly, when in need, who's the first one there?
Yeah.
Family.
That's right. You know, a lot of shop owners fear of letting go. They fear of letting go. They're afraid to delegate because of a lot of reasons. You know, and I get it. Trust me, I get it. You know, it's my business. I know everything about my business. To let other pieces of the business be run by other individuals is scary for some people. But I'm telling you, through coaching, right leadership, developing others, you've got to watch them develop and grow. Right? Because if they don't develop and grow in your company, they will go to another company. I guarantee you that. So you have to develop them. And by the way, this sends also a strong message to your employees that you do care about what they think, that what they do really matters. And talk about a retention tool. If you give them we don't mean encourage ownership as owning your company.
No.
We mean what we mean here is that they have a stake, that they know that their lives, that what they want out of life is dependent upon the success of the company they work for. Then that's a perfect alignment. So when we give them responsibility and encourage ownership, what we mean here is that we encourage their ideas, their comments, their thoughts, their suggestions. We want them to have a stake in the business to a point where they really feel like what they're telling the boss, what they're telling you really matters. A great retention tool.
Goes back to the family atmosphere, right?
It does. It does. Everybody's got a voice. In a family, everyone's got a voice.
Right. Yeah. When you make a business, an important decision in your life, especially when you're a little younger, what'd you do? You called the family together. What do you think?
Yeah.
Right?
What do you think? What do you think? Yep.
You,
Yep.
you, as a leader of the family, you made the ultimate decision, whether that be a female or male. As a leader of the family, you made the ultimate
Yeah,
decision.
that's true. That's true. Yeah, the ultimate decision. Yep.
But you got together. So I just think that we can't take that. I know it sounds hokey, but I just think that we got to insert that family as part of our business.
Yeah.
I think it's very, very important.
Yeah, I agree.
Joe, you already touched on this, but you can expand on.
Yeah, I did touch upon this earlier, but let me just go into a little bit more detail. Leaders in this virtual room, there's no place for egos. Egos give you egos and confidence, by the way, are two different things. We kind of confuse the two. Ego was good. Ego was good many years ago, hundreds, thousands of years ago. It kind of got you out of a jam. It gave you that sense of you can fight through this, that you're in a situation where you need to be strong, that you can get through this. And it gave you that security, that confidence that you can overcome a particular situation. But in today's world, too much ego is not good because it blinds you. It puts up a wall. It clouds your judgment in a way where you don't accept other people's ideas, suggestions, and comments. And that's not where we need to go in business. And I'm not saying that you need totally to rely on other people to make decisions for you. That's not what I'm saying here. But what I'm saying here is that you need to have other people in your life that you can rely on, that you can bounce things off of. And that is one of the traits of a leader. You're not going to grow, like I said earlier, solely upon what you can achieve on your talents. You can't. I guarantee you, if you rely just on your abilities alone, I'm talking about shop owners in this room today, you're going to go right here. That's it, especially today. 30, 40, 50 years ago, yeah, you may have done fine in a 2-3 bay environment with two technicians or mechanics, what we used to call them back then. Yeah, you can get away with that back then. Not today. You need to combine efforts, combine talents of everyone around you. And that takes leadership. Again, we're trying to align this with how do you keep people? Because the more you let go of your ego, the more you build people around you, the more you listen to them, what matters to them, then you're just sending a strong message that I want you to stay. I need you. I'm a leader and I'll make those tough decisions when and if I have to, but you're important too. And what you say to me matters to the success of the company. That's what we're talking about, leadership and ego. Very, very important.
Great point, Joe. You can't be like you say, have it when you're, I guess here it goes back to egos are good until they get in your way.
That's the best way to put it. They're good until you get into you. Yeah, get your way. Yeah,
you know, you need a little bit of ego, but once they start getting your way, you've crossed the line.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. So we got a few more things we want to cover, but that's the 5 basic tips. Joe, before we go any further, I got a message from Darren that said that the chat button is not working.
Oh no, you're kidding me.
No, that's what he said. He said the chat button is disabled. You know how to fix it? Is there any way to fix that before we move on?
I don't know.
Okay, well, I'm going to move on. If you see something, let me know. But
I'm pressing open here.
It worked earlier, but apparently
it did work.
Could someone out there please just send us a question or something on the chat? Let's see if maybe Darren's the only one wasn't working. But we haven't had a chat all day, so apparently it's not working.
Oh no, I can't believe that.
Oh, no, we got a question and answer though. That's working. Maybe that's where it needs to go. Guys, hang on. There we go. Darren, you got to do it through question and answer, not through the chat, Joe.
Oh.
Tina Erickson, I love her. She always bails us out. You know that?
Is that Tina?
Thanks, Tina.
How are you, Tina?
Thanks.
Chat says disabled. All right, do Q&A, not chat. Okay.
Cool. We'll move on here and then we'll get some more of that. Thanks for Tina, for you and whoever figured that out for us. So here's some next steps. And Joe, as Joe said earlier, you see up there in the right-hand corner, the competition is recruiting your techs.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. If you don't think they are, you're kidding yourself.
Yeah.
In the Eagles course, Joe has a famous statement about the 5 o'clock surprise.
Yeah.
Joe, you want to just give a brief description of the 5 o'clock surprise?
A real brief description, because in the Eagles course, I go into a whole story, but here it is. I'm going to sum it up. We've all experienced that situation when it's 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, when one of your lead techs comes over to you and says, "Hey boss, you have a minute?" Because we know where that's going. Next thing he's going to say is, "I'm giving you my 2 weeks." That's called a 5 o'clock surprise, or Friday afternoon surprise. And what we're doing here today is giving you some tips that you can go back immediately and start utilizing these tips. And I hope that you took a lot of notes today. I really do. So yeah, and the first one, Kevin, right? It all goes back to the first 5 steps.
Yeah.
I hope that you took those notes, and I hope that you take these slides that we give you, these strategies, and I hope that you start implementing them as soon as you can. Because you need to do it collectively, by the way. You just can't take 1 or 2. You got to do them all. You really do. If you don't do them all, and it takes time to develop it, but develop a plan and implement it little by little, it will change your life.
I was going to say, Joe, to that point, you're not going to be able there and just go in there and turn the switch, and just, it's going to go from the way you did to the way it is now. That's not realistic. So, but take one thing at a time. Work on, hey, look, one thing. I'm going to come in every day with a smile on my face. I may have to force that. I may have to, you may have to force that, but I'm going to do my best to come in every day with a great attitude. I mean, that may be where it starts, right? And then it just filters on, filters on.
Yeah, because I'm sorry.
No.
Well, because one of my goals today is, and I should have said it earlier, I want you, the shop owners in this room, to get ahead of this problem. The problem is what's in the right-hand corner. The competition is recruiting your technicians, not just your technicians, but your service advisors and managers too. I want you, each and every one of you, managers and shop owners in this room today, this virtual room, to get ahead of this problem. I want you to take these steps, take it very, very seriously. I don't want anybody here losing any more people. I really don't. And maybe you have that perfect shop that you have people working there for the past 15, 20 years. That's great.
God bless you.
God bless you, but still listen to these strategies, because you don't know what's coming down the road. And some people say we're headed into tough times. I don't know. No one has a crystal ball. Maybe we are. If we are, it doesn't. After 41 years in business, I've been through all these. I've been through every situation.
Quite frankly, Joe, if it is tough times, it really doesn't affect our industry much.
It's what it is. I always look at it as opportunity. I really do. I really do. I've lived through so many tough times, and I just think that these tips, these things that we've been talking about, that they just, and the good news about them is that you can start implementing these today. Yeah, right away.
You don't have
right away.
You can start some of these things right now, right today.
Yep.
So another thing, Joe, I see all the time with clients, and it's very, very frustrating for me, and it ends up being frustrating for them. But they'll say, I won't call them up and say, hey, what's going on? We talk about the employees, and they'll say, well, Jim he's got an attitude. He's been, for the last 2 or 3 weeks, he's just got an attitude. My first thing, have you asked him what's wrong?
Yeah. Did you talk to him?
Well, no. Well, trust me when I tell you, the issues don't go away, number one. But number two, if it doesn't feel right to you, we all been there. Joe, you've been there. I could walk in my shop. I could walk in one of my stores. I could tell if someone's going to come talk to me about quit.
You can tell. You can tell. Yeah.
So the bottom line is, if you feel it, address it. And it's very simple.
Yeah.
You don't have to, what's wrong? That's not what we're looking for. But hey, Joe, what's going on, man? Something's up here. You've been killing it and producing, 60, 70, hours a week. And now all of a sudden you got a bad attitude and you're yelling at people. What can I help you with? What's going on? Is there something I can help you with?
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, don't stick your head in the sand. It will not go away. It will only get worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
It will only get worse. So I'm a big fan of the 1 minute manager. I don't think that it applies any more directly than it does to employee management.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
You think or you feel or you hear something's not right, address it.
Yeah.
Not in a confrontation manner, but in a manner of, what can I do to help? Right?
I know.
Don't stick your head in the sand. So the most important thing is if you see an issue, you feel an issue, address it.
Yeah. And
right, Joe?
please, a lot of people have what's called conflict avoidance. They don't want to hear the bad news. They don't want to approach people. They don't want to get over that. Let me tell you something. You have a business to run and you need people around you. You need great people around you. So if something happens, like Kevin said, or you feel something, or someone comes to you out of confidence, Larry, something's up with Larry, go and find out what's going on. Ask the person, sit them down, bring them to your office, bring them out for coffee, do something, but find out, because there's something going on in that person's life. And it may not be about the business either. It may be something personal. You don't know. But whatever it is, it's going to upset the balance, the aura of what's going on in your workplace. And you just can't have that these days. You really can't.
Joe, you talked about this a little earlier, so why don't you go ahead and take the why?
The why. Yeah, it's so important that you understand the why things happen. Why did that person leave? Why is this person not doing the right things for you? And you also have to know the why of why you are the person you are, or why this is so important. So when we talk about the why, it's so critical that you understand what's going on with your life, what's going on in other people's lives, and it's important they know what's going on with your life too. It goes back to get it into the hearts and the minds of the people around you. It really does. It's so critical.
And I'm really big on this next one, number 4. If you have a problem, you see an issue with an employee, whether it be their behavior or their productivity, and after you've had this discussion with them, create a small little action plan. What we're going to do to try to help him. If he's struggling with finances, then sit down with that employee and help him create some sort of action plan. When I'm talking about an action plan, I'm talking about 5 or 6 bullet points put down the thing. This is what we need to do. We need to do this. We need to do this. You know what I mean? But as Joe says all the time in the Eagles course, as much as we'd love them to leave their troubles at the door, they can't. They can't.
No.
Right, Joe? They can't.
They can't.
So the best thing we can do is, if we can help an employee in some form or fashion, just put together with him or her, put together a nice little plan. What's our plan moving forward? What are we going to do? How are we going to help this situation?
Yeah.
And again, I'm big on plans because I think that gets followed through. So that's why I suggest that. And the most important thing we always got to remember here, we always said people do business with people.
Yeah.
People leave people.
Not companies.
Not companies.
Yeah.
So if they're leaving because of you or someone closely associated with you, right? Your manager or whatever, but they're not leaving because of the business. They're leaving because of the people.
100%. 100%. Because let me just, one more point here.
Sure.
You should make it a point that whenever someone leaves your company, or whether you terminate somebody, that you do create that action plan of what happened, because it's so important you learn from it. Don't just say, oh, it was an employee, they didn't do the right thing, or I had to let them go, or
him and Jim couldn't get along, or whatever.
Yeah, well, guess what? Who hired that person? Yeah. You did. You hired that person. So it's your responsibility, excuse me, it's your responsibility to find out what happened, if they left, or if they had to terminate their employment. So find out these things, all right? Just find out these things, because you always want to improve your business, improve yourself, improve the atmosphere.
Great job, Joe. This is something that I preach to my my clients all the time. I think that the 3 pillars of employee management. I think employee management is very simple to me. And the reason I think it's simple is because I think you set very, very clear expectations. They know exactly what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, how it needs to be done, what's expected of them. And then you hold them accountable to those expectations. The worst thing you do is set expectations and never go back and revisit it. Never go back and say, hey, look, where we stand, how do we do? So then you hold them accountable. And I think the third thing is there's got to be some sort of consequence. When I say consequence, I'm not talking about taking pay away. I'm not talking about putting them time out. But there's got to be some sort of consequence. That consequence could simply be, come talk to me and tell me what happened, why we didn't reach that. Tell me what I can do to help. but there's got to be some sort of consequence.
Yeah.
So I think that if you will take these 3 items and build your employee management around these 3 items, to me, it's a very simple.
Yeah.
I've always felt that way.
Yeah.
Clear expectations, accountability, and some sort of consequence if accountability is not met.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
I want to talk about this a little bit, Joe, and then I'm going to get the question and answers here in just 2 minutes,
Yes.
3 minutes. I'm going to
Yes.
blow through this very quick. The reason I'm going to blow through this very quick is because this is very important. Joe and I touched on very few things today that are part of this course, but we touched on a few things, and we didn't even go into detail. The Eagles course is the best, and I think it's not me saying that, I think it's industry acclaimed. It is the best business management course in the United States. And when I say business management course, we're not going to talk about, in the Eagles course, we don't talk about how to fix cars or anything technical. We talk about business. Joe, go ahead and go through the 3 days, please.
Well, the first day we start off with leadership. We talk a lot about leadership, time management, then we go into goal setting. Then we go to heavy for the rest of the day into financial statements, how to understand your KPIs. And then the second half of the day, first day, we start to develop strategies about maintaining your control over hidden costs, called cost controls. The second day is all about hiring, finding great people, recruiting. And then in the afternoon of the second day, we talk about, discuss into detail what we discussed today. That's about employee management. That's all about retaining the people that you have. We spend a lot of time on that. Day 3 is marketing, all about marketing. We talk about your company, ways to make your company better in terms of reaching out to consumers. We talk a lot about advertising, branding, things like that. And then we end up with leadership again. It's that important. Leadership. We start with leadership, we end with leadership, and then we give you some next steps of what to do when you go back to your shops. It's 3 days packed full of information that you can unbelievable. You walk out of it with your head spinning, but it's all good. All good stuff.
It's an AMI accredited course. Yep. I think that it takes 120 credits to get your AMI degree.
Yeah, it does.
I think this represents close to 80 of it.
70 or 80 credits. Yep.
Close to 80 credits. This course, I say that, I mention that because that tells you how intense this course is.
Yeah.
How as far as business. Like I said, we've been able to knock it down to 3 days. We've not taken any content out, but it's now 3 days. It used to be a 4-day course. And the great news is our next one's in October, and it's in Indianapolis. And I say the reason that's the great news is because Indianapolis is a day's drive within 60% of the country. So I would encourage you, anyone that is out there, if you've never been to an Eagles course, please log on to our website and inquire about it. I'm telling you, it will be I've told clients before, this is the honest truth. I've told clients, I said, Kevin, I can't, and this is when it was in San Diego, Kevin, I can't go to, I can't take 3 days, at that time, 4 days. I can't take 4 days away from my business. And I really grabbed this from Bob Cooper. I said, you know what? You'd be better off to shut the business down for 4 days and come to this training, because I promise you, what you lose, you'll make back tenfold.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is that powerful. And I've not had one client ever in my life, in the 12 years, 10 years I've been doing this, I've never had one client tell me that it was not the best 4 days of their business life. So I just wanted to go through that real quick. Please, if you're interested in that, please get on our website and see what you think. There's the web address. Get on there and see if it might be something you'd be interested in. Just a few other things we can before I get to the question and answers, just a few other things that we can do for Elite. Those of you that are not clients, we can help you with sales, marketing, profitability, recruiting, employee management, leadership and training, exit strategy, succession planning strategy. So we have a lot of things. We have a coaching segment. We do Darren Barney, our vice president of operations. He puts on a master's course, which is a 3-day course, 6-month program for advisors. So he can help you with that. If you have any interest in that, again, contact our website if you need some training for your advisors. And then finally, we're going to get to some questions and answers. Joe, can you pull them off?
Yeah, I got them.
Q&A there? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, Paul Hamilton said, thank you, gentlemen and Elite, for making a great team. Thank you. I appreciate that, Paul. I really do. I was late. This is from Jennifer. I was late to this and have had interruptions. Will there be a recording emailed?
There will be a recording, and you will get an email in a day or two when it's available.
Yes. Is the cost per person? Jennifer, again, for the Eagles course, I'm assuming.
Jennifer, I cannot answer that. I can't answer that. I think if you'll contact the office, they'll be able to answer to you what the cost is. I don't know what it is, but I promise you this, and this is I know I'm biased, but I promise you this, it's worth whatever it costs. That's all I can say. It's worth whatever it costs.
Yeah. Plus, we make it fun, right, Kevin? We have a good time. We make it fun.
We get the banner a little more than we're doing.
Yeah, today, a little bit more than this. Let me tell you something. We just scraped the tip of the iceberg today. Really
yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, this is just a sample of. But I hope that really, my expectations today. I know it's getting a little late here, but really, I hope that we met everybody's expectations. I really do, Kevin.
Is there any more questions? That was all the questions?
No, that's it. That was it. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's it. Anything else, guys? Anybody?
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, but oh wait, we got one more, Joe. I just saw one pop up.
Oh, really? Okay, hold on. Let me get to it.
Two pop up.
Totally worth every penny. This is Tina Erickson. Thank you, Tina. Totally worth every penny. Eagles changed my life in 2015. Wow.
And we did not pay her to say that. I told you I loved her earlier, but I did not pay her to say that.
Yeah, I know. I remember that, Tina. Very good.
We got to tell the story real quick. The reason we remember Tina so succinctly is because she sat in the front row. This has been several years ago. She sits in the front row, and Joe's talking about how the customer doesn't care about what kind of equipment you have, right? And
or tools.
Or tools. You go to the dentist, you know what kind of utensils they're using or X-ray machine they got? And Tina says, yeah. She rattles off GE,
Henry Schein. Tina says, whatever. Henry Schein. And I says,
Joe looks at her and says, what? And she says, I was in the dental system, or I was in the dental business, so I knew. But the point is, that's how we remember Tina so succinctly. That plus we love her. She's special.
Yeah.
That
that's I think nobody else here. Okay. Anyone else have anything to say? Okay. Cool. Well, I just want to, I know you're going to end. You have something to say, but I just want to say that, shop owners in particular got to be one of the hardest working people on this planet, right? And I really have, I was a shop owner. I was in this business since I was a kid, worked with my father. I know how difficult it is to be in this business. I really do. I have the utmost respect for everyone in this business. Although I sold my company this past December, I still feel that I'm part of everyone here. And I really, really understand everything from the gas station business to the body shop business to the independent repair shop, the tire business. I have a lot of respect for people, and I just, our goal, Kevin and I, we have this goal and expectation that we just want to give you everything, all the tools that are necessary to hold on to the people you have now, because your success is really determined by the success of people around you. It really is. And you deserve a good wage. Your people deserve a good wage, and with the opportunity to earn even a higher living. So just hope that you just take the examples we gave you today, those 5 strategies, build a little mini plan around it, and implement maybe one thing a day, or one thing or 2 things a week, whatever it is. But don't just leave the information that we gave you today. Don't just put it aside and say, yeah, that was a great presentation. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Joe. And leave it at that. Do something, make it a change in your life. Really do something today that's going to make one of those bold steps to make your life a little bit better. I guarantee you make the people around you better, make their lives better. It's going to make your life better too. And so I just want to end with that. And I want to thank everyone who's given us the opportunity to spend an hour and a half with everyone here today on this Tuesday afternoon or morning, wherever you are in the country. So thank you. Thank you.
Joe, thanks for that. That's profound statements there. And that's exactly what we're here for. We're just here to try to help you guys. There's nothing, what's the statement with an external customer? It's cheaper to keep them than just to go get right? Then just go out and get, I've had clients that spend $20,000 this year recruiting people. Well, what if they use that same amount of money in improving the employee experience? Whatever that means, right?
Yeah.
We talk about the customer experience all the time. What's the employee experience?
Yeah.
Right?
It's true. It's a great point. Great
Because
point.
again, if we need to almost look, no, not almost. We need to look at our internal customers as important and cater to them just as much as we cater to our external customers. And if you'll make a commitment to take care of both, we know you're taking care of your external customers because you're in business. But you need to, if you'll take care of your employees in that same respect, your team members in that same respect, you'll see results. I promise. This is not going to happen overnight, but I promise you, if you practice these things, they work. We know they work.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. So as Joe says, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I know your time is valuable, and we appreciate you joining us. And if there's anything we can do, Joe or I personally, or anyone,
let us know.
We can do.
Reach out.
Please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Yeah.
Right.
Kevin, I have one more comment. Kevin. Titus Martin, thanks so much, Elite. Fly with the Eagles changed us. So thank you, Titus. Thank you for that endorsement.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Joe, thank you so much.
Kevin, thank you. Thank everybody. Great time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.